A disturbance in the force has been detected by the Frotis, who's already started to feel that a certain level of power is slipping out of their hands after they played the last trick they had left in the bag. Now it's just the moment of the pause, what is going to be the result of the recent action they took on behalf of those who are in their higher chain of command, the dark forces. So there's this rebellion that is underway. It's a rebellion of the agents of the light. They have been forming a coup, and they too have their own plans that have been brewing beneath the surface, undetected by the Frotis, who is more taken in by superficial things. Should have scratched deeper there to be able to uproot what you see as the problem. Those who operate for the forces of darkness. And yet, both forces play an essential role. But now is the time when, once again, the shadow must give way to the light of what's being illuminated with this full moon partial lunar eclipse arriving on the scene on the 27th, 28th, depending on where you are in the world. That lets the Frotis know time is up. They're losing their stronghold. They've been doing things by the book, and that's the very thing that's going to throw them off when this full moon partial lunar eclipse activates a magic triangle between Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, with Neptune forming a T-square aspect that means anything goes, and it's certainly not going to be anything that's by the book. It's not going to play the winning hand this time, okay? So I do feel light forces are building here. Light forces are going to have more sway at this time. Light forces coming in to call some energies out. Things that have been hidden are being revealed. And this is allowing us to glean a harvest here. This is allowing us to activate those dreams that at one point seemed like an impossibility because of who had the power in their hands. But now there's this uprising against what people have been loyal to in the past. And now, in some cases, they're biting the hand that originally fed them because they recognize that hand that it was extended to them was connected to the Frotis. And this is gaining keys of liberation, keys that open doors of empowerment. And also it balances some essential karma here. Got your eyes on a different prize. Now with Uranus forming that tense T-square aspect, that magic triangle, it does mean that things come in quite unexpectedly. There are some favorable aspects with Jupiter on the scene, and there is a positive sextile aspect with Neptune. So there are some favorable forces also in play for pushing the envelope to build the light, but where you are trying to hedge your bets to turn things in reverse, especially if you're trying to affect the birth of others, that's when you could really find that you end up in quite an isolated position. If you're too invested in that first house energy where it's all about the self, you're not going to be able to pick up the judgment call of the new sound, and you're going to be left behind here. This is the birth of something new. This is the birth of connectedness. You have to be able to connect. Time's up for those who do not have the ability to connect. Time's up for those who are not willing to do the shadow work. They're going to find that their designs are slipping out of view and out of their hands, and it's to put them in a place where they're going to be thrown into this state of self-reflection. They're not going to be able to resolve things by trying to affect those they've had their sights fixated on. There's something here where those who have been a bit of a bee in your bonnet, this could be speaking to Miss Rufflebonnet since she's come in quite a bit. Those who've been a bee in your bonnet are really just serving as a distraction from where your answers are to be found. They're to be found within. If you hope to reclaim your power in a situation, whoever you've been dealing with here, whoever really relates to this energy of feeling like somehow some power is slipping out of their hands and they're confused about it, they don't understand why. You've been led on a bit of a wild goose chase by an energy that has worked with mental manipulation to confuse you about who you are and the power that you hold. And somehow you got to get back to source. You got to turn back within to resolve this riddle. You're not going to find it by trying to influence circumstances outside of you. So if you are on that side of the Wheel of Fortune and you feel like it's about to run over you, or you feel like things have gotten out of hand, then there's some way here that you need to have a look at yourself to understand the illumination that needs to come through for you. It's almost like you got your sights, your targets set in the wrong places. And it's to free yourself from a holding pattern, but the holding pattern is existing because there's something you're not willing to see. And until you're willing to see it, you're going to experience just more endings kind of rolling into your life here that are blocking off any further progression. Yeah, there's this recognition that transformation is required, and it's not required of anybody outside of yourself here in order to really find what is going to give you that sense of success, that sense of happiness. But there's some place that those who are connected to the Frodis, those who have been working for the dark force here, have not seen the light, and that's what's going to be revealed on the other side of that eclipse. When the lights come back on in the room, it's a moment that is going to be blinding, because see, the mystery will be seen into at that time. Something that wasn't seen before is going to be seen. And the truth can be blinding, especially when it's in direct contrast to what you were so certain of. But one thing I like about this is the truth, though it may cut, it does set one free, okay? This is very evocative, you know, that hangman energy. So something is illuminated, something is seen about the true nature of success, something is seen about what's truly worth investing in, something is seen about the way one was cast into a role by somebody who manipulated their view of themselves or their worldview, okay? Could even be the way they've been programmed by the evening news, but now something is really shifting here. Sights are being set in a positive direction because of the beneficial influence coming in with Jupiter that's really going to support the activation of our dreams. It's going to provide a potent point for really fertilizing that new beginning you want to see. There's also great horned owl here, so it's magic, but it's magic that comes through in a very warrior kind of sense. But it's not coming through as warriors of the dark. It's more of those who have been able to move through the darkness and find the light that's there. They have missing pages in the book of knowledge that those who've been operating for the Frodis don't have. It's kind of funny. I feel like those who have been in this position, right, that have been trying to bring endings to others, who've just kind of been going with the flow and doing their thing and living in a sort of carefree sort of way. I'm almost seeing this too, as it looks like a cosmic carrot, right? And it's also coming in with that rune alges, which speaks of protection, you know, protection of that cosmic carrot. Protection of some dream that you feel called to pluck out of the void and actualize, you know, really bring through at this time. Maybe you're even working some magic around this, the way you're focusing your attention, what you're speaking into existence at this time, and also how you're really getting in tune with yourself. You know, you're starting to really see that you have to be in the right place energetically for anything to come through. But I feel where there's been those who have been focused on what others are aiming for here and have been trying to take them down, where there's been manipulation and there's been this kind of putting a target on others' backs instead of really focusing on what do I need to set my sights on for myself and the activation of my purpose here. Those who've been operating that way, they don't recognize that the endings that they have planned for others are the endings they've actually called in for themselves. You know, that's the intention that they seeded. That's what they put out into the void. And that is the fulfillment that's coming through for them. Look at that. Yeah, King Fancy's getting the memo here. Thought that they were building something off the back of another, and not so. Time's up. The kingdom you planned is going to be delivered up to another. Okay, so maybe even the one that they were fighting against here. Looks like they got an ally coming in, somebody to help them get up to that north node and the acquisition of something that should have been theirs all along, but has been dealing with some kind of interference here. Somebody got caught slipping. Could even be somebody who likes to come off like they're holy. This person is vengeful. This person is very much about an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. They believe in old school justice, and yet in some way this person needs some self-reflection. They don't have an accurate view of the situation, and that's what's going to be illuminated here. Somebody who inspired mob mentality, okay? These are people who are trying to cut off some building of light. And of course, you know, it does go down on the worldwide stage, but this is also something that we're resisting here. We're freeing ourselves from the chains of what has kept us in too much of a docile place. Docility very quickly becomes complicity when you start to revere your chains. And there's something that's been way overdue. I feel like it's this rebellion of the light force has been way overdue. So look for things to start to become quite exposing, all right? I'm going to go ahead and do one round here to see what comes through. Yeah, we got the decision maker coming on through, taking the action to cut something off. And suddenly there is a new one who wears the crown. It's like power changing hand between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. It always changes hands. You can't negate that. That's just part of nature. There's no way around that. So there's always a time for the dark to have its rise, but not yet. Not yet. It's not time for that yet. We're not at that turning point yet. Not until after fall equinox, when there is that balance at that cross quarter point, when you have an equal measure of shadow and light, are we at that point where darkness has more of an advantage. You see, there's still something that needs to be reclaimed and still something that needs to be cleansed from the gross cup. But now you're going to be able to see what that is, and that's what's different. And once you see what needs to be cleansed from the gross cup, you'll be able to cross that bridge, and it becomes the miraculous chalice. This is a trollish sort of energy. This is an energy that is very submerged. And when I say submerged, I mean this is not a strong energy. It's quite the opposite, although it may present itself as being very forceful or kind of throwing its weight around. The reality is this energy is running really low on fuel. They haven't been able to harvest energy for quite some time. There's many around this one who are starting to see who they truly are, and so they're not able to work people the way that they used to be able to. They're starting to get caught up in their shadow, and this is what's really going to be coming to a head for this particular character here. They're starting to see that they don't have the sway they used to have. They're not able to manipulate people the way they used to. People aren't buying the story. They are not drawn to this character anymore because the way this person was able to draw others to them was through harvesting others' energy. It was who they would attach themselves to. That's what made them like a glimmery thing. That's how they could be allured in the past, but there's something about where this particular character tried to isolate another or others, they are now being isolated, right? Tables for turning. Woo! And that was pretty dramatic the way that happened. So let's see. Yeah. Cover's blown. They got a lot of secrets too. And all these secrets are coming out, okay? And there's also a lot of people attached to this character too. I feel like it's a group of people, and they like to use false identities. These people could have even been involved in some kind of identity theft. All right, these people are using catfish profiles, and they hide who they truly are, because they know that they're not really in a strong position. If they were to reveal who they were, they wouldn't have any pull. They wouldn't have any sway. That's what I'm hearing. It's more like the fact that they're hidden is what gives them power, and now that power is being taken out of their hands because we got Mahakala coming in to clear the channels, so to speak, okay? Something is being devoured here by Kala, by time. It should have been devoured a long time ago. But this BS is finally getting anchored where it belongs. It's being flushed away. And with it being flushed away, there's also this recognition that the dark gives way to the light and the road opens. Now, it is a narrow passageway, and that is the Sabian symbol that is coming through with 4 degrees Pisces that this moon is going to come in. It's a very narrow, thorough way, okay? So you have to be present in order to spot the way through. You have to be present to recognize what's in this gross cup for you, okay? Because what it is for me or anybody else is going to be different than what it is for you. And that's why it's so important for you to have clear vision here, all right? But you're going to see what this is. You're going to see what this disruptive force is. You're going to see what needs to be cleansed out of this cup. And you know what I always say, it's always about looking first within you, okay? There could be a stagnant part of you that has been too caught up in something outside of you that's been really harvesting your energy. And so you haven't been able to materialize what you desire. And you got to really put that onus on you. You can't like pass the buck there. There's some illumination that's coming in here, and where you are somebody who is really doing the work, and you have been looking at your stuff, and you've been transforming, and you know what your sticking points are. I see you really like driving this work home, you know, really getting focused, really uprooting all those little secret parts of you, looking in all the little corners that you normally don't look into, and just making sure you're doing a real good clear out with this eclipse energy is going to help you really give a finger to all the BS of the past and all the useless excuses and stories you used to tell yourself, so you can really grab the bull by the horns and find passage through here, right? Swift passage through too. It'll pass through faster than you expect. You might also be experiencing a certain cleansing going on in your body too, because whatever's going on energetically, whatever is going on spiritually, emotionally, physically, it ends up taking root. It's just one of the chains of alchemy of manifestation, okay? It applies to our physical vessels too. So you might be noticing that you're having a lot clear out here physically too, right? Some of you might be doing some cleansing work. You might be doing that on a physical level. You may have already spotted that component, okay? And I think this is excellent because I feel like the more that you release, you know, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, physically, the more you build the ojas in your body, that vitalizing, life-giving force, that nectar of life. And that's what allows you to move forward much more clearly. It also gives you the strength and the courage to shatter the illusions, to see things as they really are. And armed with that truth, you're able to really just cut through the bull and see how to get toward what your heart is really longing for here. And I think that's something that's been missing, honestly. I think a lot of people are starting to realize their heart wants something that is quite different from what they thought they wanted before. We have the false face in reverse coming out crossing. You see, this is a big revealing moment, not only in relation to those around us and the situations we've been dealing with, and what we're seeing being revealed on the worldwide stage with those in positions of power and how that power is being redistributed. But it trickles all the way down, you know, into our social dynamics, and then certainly even in how we relate to ourselves. So there's something we're getting a different view of here, something that we really wanted in the past. It's not what we want now. It's going through a revisioning here. We see things differently. We see ourselves differently too. And once we see ourselves differently, we reclaim a little bit of magic here to carry forward with us. I think this is all just something that's going on so many different levels. It's going on psychologically, it's going on spiritually, it's going on energetically and in our relationships. But this is really a transformational lunar cycle that we are moving through. And it's really time to get this energy anchored in before the Virgo new moon comes in on the scene. Okay, let me do one more round of this and then we'll dive deeper into this energy a little bit here. So we have a false face that's going to be revealed. And at first, you know, that might bring in a sense of vengeance. You might notice old shadowy parts of you activated by this. Secret parts of you, perhaps, that you didn't even know were still there. Maybe you buried them for a while. So some of you might feel first like this resurgence of anger, or you might want to get your lick back. Don't allow yourself to kind of get roped into that, because that could be a hook and you could spoil what wants to fill your cup here, right? The revealing is necessary, but we have to remember when you got Uranus forming a T-square aspect with Neptune and Pluto in the mix, that could turn real dark, real mean, real heavy, real chaotic, real fast. Okay? But if you play your cards right, you know, if you use that anger or this like fiery, igniting sort of emotion when it comes in relation to having the true face of something revealed, if you use it as a point for self-reflection, for turning within, then you'll be able to get right to the center of it, almost like a bullseye, quite quickly. And that's going to help you focus your intention in such a way where you really will hit the mark here. All right, so I think it will be rough. It will be rough. And this could even be an aspect of yourself that you're seeing that you didn't recognize before. Maybe how you moved in the past or a choice you made in the past. And now you're ready to do something differently. Do something differently, okay? Had something to do with temptation. There's a lot coming in here about courting, energy draining, the cost of attachment. Whatever that was, you know, something that lured you in with the promise of so much, maybe the promise of some garden of delight. It led you down a garden path. And it's created a lot of blockage here. And where there is focus on another being the source of that, there's also something here about needing, very much so, to understand the power of choice and how we always play a role, even in our own undoing. In some cases, you know, we do play an active role. And even if we don't play an active role, we still may be playing a passive role in the way we can be complicit with those who keep us in these spaces by not being willing to rebel, you know, by not being willing to rebel with action, which if you think about it, when we talk about the light force is the active force. So I know it's like the time for being passive is really over here. We had that kind of hangman influence coming in reverse. We have this energy of needing to move forward, and actually needing to move forward with a vengeance. Like, don't be idle with this. This is all about needing to take a step forward. And there's no way to kind of move secretly at this time. I really feel that. I feel like those who have been moving very secretively, those who have been trying to hide their moves, because if they were revealed, it could be very compromising. It could put them in a pretty compromised position. There's going to be no way to do that. I just feel like this energy is being called out. This energy is being unmasked. And it's the birth. It's the birth of the revealing of these secrets. And that's because it's time to take flight. So light has been building within the cocoon. There's been a lot of work that's been done here collectively on dissolving the old karmic cycle. And also, we've been going through a tremendous transformation. Everybody in the world has been going through a major transformation since 2020. And we're really just getting started with it with Pluto and Aquarius. So there's so much more to come. But now is when we're actually really starting to get traction. And there's some recognition here that you really have to bridge the gap in understanding between that was then and here you are right now. You're never going to go back to life before 2020. You're never going to go back to that old life. It's not even realistic to even put yourself in that frame of mind or struggle with anything that didn't pass the litmus test of being in alignment with the truth and what really is right for you and your personal path of progression moving forward, to any kind of further scrutiny or engagement or struggling with here. And I think that's really what the rebellion of light is about. It's not about bumping up against some dark force. It's actually just saying, no, actually, we're just keeping it moving. We're keeping it moving. We're not hanging out here for this argument. We're not going to go back and forth on some BS, hashing it out, not taking on the projections, not buying into the illusions you're trying to cast here, not dealing with people who can't be upfront, people who have to wear a mask, people who have to send other people in on their behalf, like not dealing with people who can't present what they have to offer in an honorable way, not taking offers that come with all kinds of compromising strings attached, not dealing with people who come forward with some BS when we already see through their mask. Time's up. And the rebellion is not coming through like any uprising against any other. It's just in taking action to build the light in our lives. And that's what's really going to start to dawn on people, where they've been so fixated on what this person is doing or how this person did me wrong, or I can't wait to see this person get theirs. You have been really holding yourself up and you've been feeding these energetic attachments. It's been your temptation to bite into the fruit of knowledge about what's been going on with this person that you perceive as your enemy. And you've been sabotaging yourself. There's like these beautiful offerings that want to come forward for you, but you've been mucking up the miraculous chalice with the stuff of the Frotis because of your attachment. What tempts you? What tempts you to go into this place of rage and attack upon the other? And really, when you do that, because you do hold this power, because you do hold this magical power, what you do is you're attacking your own reflection. Eventually there has to be like this disillusioning moment, this shattering, where you recognize you're the problem, So it's a mixed bag here, because it's a mixed collective at this time. There's people that are really working through their shadow stuff, and they're just starting to have this dawn on them. And then there's others of you that had to already dance with the shadow, real mean and heavy, and you've been doing the work, and you focused on yourself, and you've been polishing the reflection, okay? You already shattered the illusions, and you're getting to experience the other side of this, but you're not fixated. Though you'll know if you're there, because you're not fixated on what's going on with anybody who did you wrong. You're not fixated on tuning into readings about how these people are going to get their punishment. You're focused on what you're here to do. Okay, that's the difference. And if you feel like you've deviated from that a little bit, this is your opportunity to get recalibrated with your heart and really, give a finger to the BS and stop entertaining these kind of vengeful thoughts, because that's actually what's going to pull you back into this old cycle again, just as you're about to cross this bridge. Really important at this time. I do feel like there is something that you haven't been seeing about yourself. And when I say you, I'm referring to all of us, okay? Because it is really one consciousness. But there's something that we need to see here about ourselves that we've been continually thinking is a tripping point outside of us, but it's actually not. It's something that we need to shift our view of just a little bit here, or something we need to bring to the surface here that's really going to change everything. One more round. One more round here. Any clue about what this may be? And then I'll dive into it deeper. I'm going to go ahead and do a cut of the deck on this, see what we got. Yeah, I mean, you've been wondering, when does the journey start? Well, there's some aspect here that you've been too loyal to. So I don't know if it's been like keeping track of time, like how long it's been since you went through something really heavy. And maybe it was unfairly, okay? Maybe you did deal with somebody that you were really loyal to, stabbing you in the back. And you've been wondering, when is this person going to get theirs? There's something about feeding that with your energy, giving all your spoons to this focus, being loyal to that, is what has halted your journey. It's also taken you out of a position of power, and it's prevented your movement forward. Horse is about power. It's about movement forward. And some movement forward comes to an end as soon as you're loyal to this. It could be a certain perspective you have or a negative habit you have, and you keep feeding this thing. And the more that you feed this thing, the more you halt your own progress. So there's something here you need to break your loyalty to. And whatever that is very individual to you. So if you're somebody that you've been really fixated on somebody who's done you wrong, you feel really bitter about it, you've had a hard time letting that go, this is what you really need to cleanse here. This is what you need to release. And maybe you need to release it with the moon. Maybe you need to do some kind of ritual around that you create yourself. Some kind of meaningful ritual so you can finally get back to focusing on your own path, your own life. And then you'll finally feel like, wow, go figure. Suddenly I have more energy. I have new inspiration coming in here. I have new opportunities coming my way. It's because you've been feeding all your power to the very thing that you think opposes you. Make that make sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, for others of you that really have already done that work and you feel like, but I've really been, on track. I've been just one foot in front of the other. I'm not fixated on anything that's been going on in the past. There's something, it could be a habit you have. It's something that keeps you in a lower vibrational energy. It's something that wears you out. It's something that makes you tired. It's something that's not fulfilling for you. In some cases, it's something you've been procrastinating on for a long time. You know you're supposed to do this and you're not doing it, okay? You need to shift your loyalty. You need to stop giving so much time, energy in a particular direction so you can start redistributing it in the direction that's actually going to bring the fulfillment of your purpose and what you're meant to activate right now. Action, action, action. This is what it means to rebel with the light force. It means I'm not going to be idle. I'm going to take action. I'm not going to be complicit. I'm going to do what I can do. So this is what is on deck here. And the more you can move with that energy, you will find that fortune does favor you. There's a lot that will align for you out of the blue, because then you're going to be working with the harmonious aspect of that magic triangle, and you'll root something new of power in your life. You'll be surprised. And armed with that truth, you'll find yourself firmly rooted in your North Node, because you gave up holding on to something that was actually the very source of what was blocking your passage to get up there to activate that North Star, right? See, first the swords need to fall away to become the truth you stand on. Right now, they're kind of barring the way. They're blocking you off from seeing something, experiencing something, recognizing what's needing transformation to get to the other side of that. All right, so let's pull out the angels and imps here and just do a round of these to see where that transformation may need to come in at. And I just noticed that when I moved that deck, a card fell off the top. Oh, 2 cards fell off the top. 3 cards. Ooh, 3 cards fell off the top. Okay, I don't know what these are, but it's from the tarot of the owls. Okay, so owls are all about magic. They're also about seeing what's hidden in the dark. I'm going to set these aside and I'm going to put them face down, and then we'll cap off this read with these. You'll get to pick a portal of transformation for this eclipse. Okay, so we'll see how it's communicating to you individually. All right, let's see. Little guidance from the angels and imps on the split. Wow, the magician and the high priestess. All right, there we go. Okay, so something very powerful is about to manifest here. Something's going to come through with great success if you are able to really make yourself sound. Because whenever I think of that high priestess energy, it always makes me think of that tenet, a priestess makes all things sound, and that begins with yourself, right? And then with the magician energy, you know, you got all those aces on the table, so there's seeds of potential. How are you going to work with them? How are you going to work with those other elementals? What are you going to do? How are you going to work with the ether, the information you receive through the numinous mystery, what comes in through more spiritually oriented channels, what you download, what you intuit? How are you going to activate it with that inspiration that comes through the air, and where you center your thoughts, how you speak things into existence, when you breathe life into them in that way with your communication? How are you going to use your fire? How are you going to use your will, your determination, your drive, your ambition? How are you going to connect that with the heart, bringing in the water so it becomes the heart fire? Something that's not just about egoic pursuit, but comes from more of a heart-centered, soulful place that provides an everlasting source of nourishment that feeds that just within the heart, that becomes that very elixir that overflows from that miraculous chalice and brings nourishment to the many. And then, only then can it really ground into the earth element, right? And become the stuff of your destiny. So this is you really making all things sound within yourself. And as a direct result, you're coming to this place of spiritual wisdom, and it's really amplifying your magic. It's taking it to another level. And it's helping you access hidden secrets. And I feel these are more mystical secrets, you know? Do I feel that things are being revealed in your connections and in your day-to-day circumstances? Yes, but there's a deeper layer of spiritual meaning that's being revealed here, even within those seemingly mundane experiences. We know that the spiritual is always going down in the marketplace, okay? There is no separation. Separation is the devil. Separation is the great deceiver. It is the original lie. And it is the greatest magic trick, that everything is somehow separate. So maybe there's ways that you're recognizing that you've been feeding more separation than you have been feeding unity in your life, and you're recognizing where that's coming from within yourself. And this is the beginning of a huge catalytic change that is going to get you moving forward in a brand new way. And it's going to shift everything for you, your relationships, and your role in the world. 6 of Wands, Knight of Wands, moving forward with a new sense of purpose here, and a sense of purpose that leads to a very successful campaign. There's longevity in the new campaign that protects against infirmities. It's because you're catching up the BS, you know? It's like reeling something in that got a little bit out of hand. but it needed to get out of hand in order to understand the value of it. You know what I mean? I mean, the dark serves its purpose. I mean, it teaches us the rough way. It teaches us with boots on. It usually has that boot, you know, on our neck, you know. But it takes that sometimes for us to find that place within ourselves that we can overcome that kind of oppression. It always gives us the opportunity to rise, even though it's not fair and it seems cruel, or, you know, however it's experienced, and it may be an injustice, but unfortunately, sometimes that's how the lessons come through in this life, and there's no way for us to be separated from that, especially with the way the world is today, when there is more darkness than there is light. And that's reality. That's just a scientific reality, that the light that we have in the world today, it's light that already died long ago. In our universe here on planet Earth, you know, we are reaching the point where we're working with borrowed light that has already been exhausted. So if we want more light to come through, we need to be generators for it. And people may think that's silly, but it's no more silly than any other type of hypothesis, you know, really, if you think about it. If we're connected to one energy, we have the ability to magnify that energy, magnetize that energy, build that energy. It's bringing through the download from a while ago, the Great Attractor download. So I'll have to connect that one to this read, because we talked about how to actively build the light. So there might be more people that are really discovering that they have the ability to activate this light. There may be more people coming to the recognition that they are light workers. And once they start to build the light, they see how quickly it transports them from one reality to another. It does happen so quickly, you know, when you're able to really spot how you're coming from a place that just leads to further stagnancy. And then when you start building the light, even though you may be doing it through meditation, even though you may be doing it through a mantra, or how you're focusing your energy in some way, you may be doing it through your creativity, but the more that you feed that light, it starts to change your reality. It's really true. Just like the more you give way to the darkness, the more you kind of settle into complacency. Empress energy knows where all the treasures are hidden, can help you find them. You hold this Empress energy, or Emperor energy. It's the creative energy. It comes through in the feminine, through the Empress, but when we look at the feminine in this way, it's merely speaking of that ability to dive more into the waters, to grok the voice of the waters, to work with the intuition and that creative inspiration, and to flow with it, you know, to give way to it, to get out of reasoning so much, to experience something unreasonable for a bit. There's also something about starting to access love as well, love you haven't experienced before. And there's a treasure revealed in that too, and it may come through in a very different way than you expect. Before I look at this, something fell away on the floor, both impish energies. Yeah, I feel like it took great strength to go through a particular tower. It took great strength to face a certain truth. It caused a lot of rough waters here. And this is something that really needed to be seen. We have Queen of Swords coming in with strength here. It was a bitter truth that needed to be recognized. It may have increased your intelligence in an area, you know, it's like it gave you the answers you were looking for. But I do feel it was a bit of a bitter pill. It did require you to acknowledge, you know, that something was built on a false foundation. But the recognition of that gave you the freedom of the bird. So it allowed you to quickly move beyond this. I feel like whatever this truth was, it allowed you to lay something to rest. You were able to overcome something that held you back in the past. And this does have something to do with something of an emotional nature that had you up in your head too long. I almost feel like you had to intellectualize it for a long time. Maybe you distanced yourself from the emotional impact of this truth. That may be the purge or the purification you're experiencing here. You may have a last little bit of emotions coming to the surface to be cleared out. And it's these emotions that are being cleared out that are going to really free you from what's been holding you back. So there's this transition here from the head moving into the heart. And it's freeing you from lack. So that's the key. It's like in some way you've been intellectualizing something too much, or you've been too up in your head about it, or too rational and linear with it, and now you're needing to get more really into the feeling of it. Really looking at the way that somebody did intend to like sink your ship, you know? Somebody did want to have you drowning in your emotions, and this may be somebody that you gave too much control over those seas, too much control over your winds, you know? They got in your head a bit, or they got too into your emotional realm in such a way that it had too much sway. You may have lost your own emotional center, or you may have lost connection to your own intuition for a bit. It may have created a little bit of confusion for you. And there may be something you're reclaiming here by letting yourself really go into the emotions of this that you never allowed yourself to experience before, that's actually allowing you to finally be freed up from this holding pattern. It's almost like it's been self-imposed, like you needed to stay in a place of steely strength in order to not be overcome by the challenges you were moving through. And the eclipse may be revealing this to you, that there's still some emotions there that you need to acknowledge and you need to release and really experience the purification of that, to see how that's the very thing that was like the dam in the river. It's the very thing that was preventing the flow of abundance in your life and maybe keeping you in a place of lack in certain ways, because we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. So this is where you've been waiting for some kind of deliverance, or you've been waiting for some kind of tangible recognition that you're on the other side of a difficult cycle where it looks like you dealt with a lot of manipulation, maybe people trying to manipulate you emotionally, maybe people who were trying to create problems for you moving forward, maybe you were dealing with outside opposition, and maybe you had to move into more of a stoic mind state where you couldn't allow yourself to get caught up in emotions at that point, and yet the emotions are necessary. Like you can't make anything grow, you know, on the earth if you don't fuel it with the water, and the water is the emotions, the water is the intuition. So you see, when we don't allow ourselves to process something, we don't recognize the way that when we do that, we block the water elemental expression in terms of alchemy and our ability to nourish the things that we really do want to grow. So I do feel like there's some kind of holding pattern that's being released here around a deeply emotional process where you dealt with some kind of betrayal, something connected to the past. It had everything to do with you really having to embrace a harsh truth. And it may have been the truth was so severe, and the recognition of it that you had to separate yourself emotionally for a bit to just be able to navigate that territory. But it's like once you allow these emotions to flow and you experience the cleansing with this eclipse, it reveals the hidden treasures that have been stored up there all along. It's like you've been taking the long way to your destination. You've been going through what seems like just deserted land. You've been moving through this desert territory, and every time you thought you were getting close to what you sought, it turned out to be a mirage. It was like midnight at the oasis over and over and over again. And some of you may have been dealing with a little bit of glamour that had been cast, that was creating this kind of illusion like you're there, you're arriving. Oh no, it's just out of reach. But whatever this is, I feel like you finally have accessed a truth that once it's seen, it can't be unseen. And I think this has everything to do with the truth that we're seeing within ourselves, okay? And it's providing the missing link that's helping us access hidden treasure that's been with us all along. And that's what's leading us into this Empress recognition. It's like whatever's being revealed here, it's telling us something about the past that makes everything very crystallized and clear in the present, that's totally transforming our future moving forward here. And it's freeing us from this state of lack. Very cool energy coming in here. It's like we've been getting in our own way in some way. But the illusion is about to be dispelled with the 7 of Cups. Time's almost up. And once that illusion is dispelled, finally we have more options than we realize here. And it gives us much to contemplate, okay? In moving forward. But do recognize as you move through this territory, you are being tested. Like, are you just going to continue to operate out of your shadow aspect? Because if you are, the road's going to be pretty rough moving forward here. It's going to be pretty rough moving forward here. So it's like once you see something, you can't pretend that you didn't see it. And there is a real like deciding moment coming in here where you're going to have to choose, you know, whether you're going to go back into unconsciousness or you're going to readjust the way you're moving forward in light of this new illumination you're receiving. Cut the deck. Judgment. Okay? You're going to have judgment here because Apophis is on the scene and Apophis would love to steal the sun. So this is really about you being aware of where you're putting your focus here. It looks like there's the desire for you to experience some kind of elevation as far as spirit sees it, but you do have free will. So it's up to you what you decide to do. I think most of you are going to use those swords of truth to unblock yourself and cut your way through, set yourself free. 2 of Swords. So this is good because where the energy was really blocked, I do see it opening up. You're breaking the circle, lifting opposing barriers, and you're experiencing victory here. Right? So you may be breaking a karmic circle here. You may be breaking ties with a particular circle of people. You may decide, I thought I was going to call that in at one point, and now I'm deciding I want to break that circle of manifestation. I'm going to call in something different. I see things much differently than I did before, okay? It can come through in any of those ways for you. Maybe come through all of those ways for you, okay? It's personal experience. So we got 3 different pathways of expression, portals of transformation for this eclipse. And I encourage you to be decisive and just lean into your intuition and choose either 1, 2, or 3 to see what it's about for you, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and reveal them here. Yes, you got to Time's up, right? You got to make a choice. You got to make a choice. We're going to go into it right now. Okay, if you chose 1, you got a tangible new beginning coming your way with an Ace of Pentacles. The birth of this is imminent. But remember, in order to activate the potential of this seed, you have to plant it, which means you have to take an action. So this is a solid opportunity coming your way, and it is sign of a new birth in your life. You've been waiting for this. But this is not something you can sit on, okay? The opportunity does not stay on the table. You have to activate it with your fire by taking action, and then nurture it. Nurture it through fueling it with your devotion, giving it the care, the time, the energy it needs. All right, so really get aligned here with this. So this is what's up ahead for you. A tangible opportunity, Ace of Pentacles. It is a sign of new birth for you, but it's up to you. Are you going to activate it? If you chose number 2, 6 of Wands, victory for you is already assured. Keep your focus. Your challenge is going to be to not pay attention to these imps on the scene that are still trying to cast some BS at you. All right? It can't touch you. You already got the power in your hand. You've already found the way through. Even with all of these characters teamed together, they still can't touch you. The only way they can affect you is if you pay this mind. If you turn your focus behind you, then you're going to spoil this victory, okay? So make sure you're staying focused here. If you chose number 3, Queen of Pentacles, right? This is about you really understanding your worth, your value, what's worth your time, your energy, your investment. You need to remember how hard you work to get back to this place within yourself so that you make all your choices from this place and you don't lose your footing. You don't lose that seat that has been hard earned because you feel like you need to try to rectify something against somebody who created some kind of issues for you in the past, or you want to gloat about a certain victory. There's something here about already earning a spot. And so it's so important for you to be in a position of recognizing what got you to that spot. It wasn't by getting entangled in any of this mess that was trying to drag you down. It was through you actually rising above that. Okay, so now that you're in this position, use your position, this power you hold wisely. Don't use it in a distorted way to try to get a lick back or get even at another, because it can cost you that seat. Right? Just as you're about to be seated in it, notice they're standing here, they're about to take the seat. You're not seated yet. So really consider your next moves here. But I like this energy as a whole when I look at this, you know. This is really positive energy. And if we look at it as a comprehensive whole, we got Chariot on the scene. We got divine intervention. We got a new opportunity that brings victory. And it up-levels us. It has us sitting in a new seat of inner authority. But it can be wasted through provocation if we look behind at what has been trying to distract us from the treasure that's been here all along, that you're about to finally have revealed to you. You know what to do. I have faith in you. Godspeed.